This is the Begin Within podcast, where we believe real, lasting health and fitness requires you to start inside before you work out. I'm your host, Nate Sleger, and I'm here to show you behind the scenes of fitness. You already know exercise is good for you, but what about all the other things in life that affect your fitness? If you're looking for extra motivation to get started or to make sure you keep going, this is the place for you.
Produced by BeginWithin.fit.
I've got a fun one for you today. I'm going to share with you an interview that I did as a guest on the Motivation for Regular People podcast with Brady Ross. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to share some of the wisdom that I have accumulated over the years. Not my own wisdom, just the wisdom of other people that I share regularly. I'm going to share that within this interview. I hope that you find things. Let me rephrase that. I know you're going to find things that you will be able to use to apply to your own personal health and fitness journey. And before I hit play on this interview, I would highly recommend that you go check out Brady Ross and his podcast, the Motivation for Regular People podcast, wherever you are listening to this podcast right now, so that you can benefit along with me as I listen regularly to his show. And you'll have one more resource to support you in staying motivated on your health and fitness journey. Here's my interview on the Motivation for Regular People podcast.
Today, you're going to learn about how you can accomplish more goals by focusing on small, tiny habits. This will help you move forward even when you feel like you are lacking motivation or you're not sure what the entire path forward looks like. Before we get into the episode, I want to encourage you to subscribe so that you'll get all of our future episodes delivered to your newsfeed. You can also leave us a rating and a 5-star review if you find the content helpful. Our guest today is Nate Sleger. Nate is a personal trainer with over 15 years of experience. He's also the host of the Begin Within podcast. I got to connect with Nate back in March when I went on his show as a guest. And once I met him, I knew he would be a great fit for this podcast as well. You're going to find so much value in hearing what Nate has to say. So with that in mind, let's dive right in. Here's Nate Sleger. Hey, Nate, great to have you on the show.
Great to be here.
So Nate and I connected a couple months back. I was actually on your podcast back in March or April, and we'll link that in the show notes so that people can hear our first conversation and get familiar with your podcast. But for our conversation today, so you're a personal trainer. You've been a personal trainer for, don't remember the exact time, at least 10 years, right?
Too long. Yeah.
Too long. So in that time, 10 years plus, what have you learned about the connection between fitness and motivation?
It's everything, right? I feel like, and like we were just talking about before I started personal training, I was so excited to be able to help people. I was just like, I know what they need to do. I can't wait to show them and teach them, and then I found out after a little while that it didn't happen that way. It was like I was it was an ideal world, kind of a little bit naive on my part to think that that's how it would work, right? I just like, hey, this is what you should do. This is the best way to get the results you want, and then you're gonna do it, and everything's gonna go great. I found that motivation was like the number one thing that was impacting the results that my clients were having and that I, was able to help them to have.
That's so interesting. So if telling people what to do was not motivating, what have you learned about what will motivate people?
It's been a journey. I know you're exploring that with the podcast. I guess I had this kind of, I wouldn't say a revelation, but for me, it was like there was a point where I realized like it's not about the reps and the sets, right? You could do this, 10 sets, do or 10 reps, do it three times. It wasn't about that. It wasn't about the programming. It was about trying to really help people to do what they really did want to do. They just weren't doing it. And so I started to do more research into psychology and motivation and less into how to do the perfect push up or how to squat properly. I was like, all right, I know that enough. I've learned enough about that. You can just learn and learn and learn forever. But all that knowledge was useless if I wasn't really helping people put it into practice. So for me, it was about doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of research, listening to a lot of experts. And the best answer that I've come across, I think to this date, is the one that BJ Fogg shares in his book Tiny Habits. And it's repeated in some of the other really good books, Atomic Habits. I mean, it's in the name of each of those books, right? Atomic Habits by James Clear, Tiny Habits, right? All of a sudden we get the sense of smaller is better,
Mm,
right? Smaller is better. So Atomic Habits, right? Tiny, atom sized, right? This is the little things. Tiny habits, obviously, very small. And so helping people start small and then go from there was huge, was key to helping them to stay motivated.
mm. That's so interesting. And there's so much that I want to unpack there. But I think one thing that initially stands out in my mind, so you talked about you were sort of on this journey where you were training people, you wanted to help them get in better shape, and you realized that telling them how to squat better, how many reps to do was not getting the job done. And so you switched to this approach where rather than teaching them how to do those things, you're helping them with their motivation and helping them build these tiny habits. And so it makes me wonder if you now see personal training as an opportunity, not just to help people develop physically, but develop in other areas of their life as well. Is that something that you've experienced?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, you nailed it. It started to be a situation where I realized like this is gonna it should impact their whole life, right? If they're gonna improve in their fitness, they're becoming healthier versions of themselves. And health is so many different things, right? It's how we sleep, it's how we eat, it's how we hydrate, it's a lot of things that we want to stop doing a lot of times, right? Different foods we want to not eat or things we want to not drink. In addition to movement, I mean, it's about our connection with other people, our connection with nature, our own ability to um, regulate our emotions, right? Our kind of our connection or our relationship with ourselves. Like there's so much involved in it. And instead of trying to just like keep it, I'm going to stay on this like one path of like workout. I'm going to show you how to exercise safely and properly to get the results you wanted. I realized I needed to get, expand out into some of those other areas to help people realize what, what health, what health is. And I think to be kind of a little bit more humble about how much I could really help them if all I was doing was showing them how to squat better or how to do better push-ups, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that approach. So I'm imagining if I were to come to you as a client for personal training and I didn't have much or any experience in the gym or in working out, what would be some of those tiny habits that you would try to instill in me from the beginning?
Yeah, I mean a lot depends, right, on your on what goals you have. Like we want to talk about that for sure, but it is about trying to analyze someone's lifestyle with them and take a look at kind of the low hanging fruit, I think, initially, right? How you sleeping? What's your home life like? I ask that all the time. Like, do you have a lot of support? Like, are people helping you out with this health improvement that you want to make? Um, what what is eating like, right? How much water are you drinking every day? Um, because there's things that are going to impact, I mean, even how safe it is for somebody to be in the gym with me, or we train virtually now, right? How safe it is for you to work out, right? If you've been up all night stressing out over something, and you haven't slept in over 24 hours, and now you come to me like, hey, let's do a workout. I will probably not do that workout with you, right? I'll tell you to go take a nap. So it has a lot to do with um, kind of understanding the priorities, right? And exercise, it's important, but there are other, more important things when it comes to health. And
Mhm.
that's where I said, like, kind of realizing that and being honest about that and saying, like, even though when I came out, stepped on the gym floor when I was first a trainer, 15 years ago, um, I thought fitness is everything, exercise is everything. I'm going to change everybody's life with this. I had to be, realize like that it's a part of it. But if someone's doing all this other stuff and they're not working out with me, they might still be in terrific shape and be very happy with the level of health that they have.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good reminder that there's really no such thing as a one size fits all goal. Goals are really specific to the person, to the circumstance, to the situation. And I think a lot of times the mistake that people will make is they'll hear about a goal that maybe it works for a lot of people, or maybe it's a goal that they feel like they should have, and they'll try to implement that goal and they won't have success. They either won't take the action they're supposed to take, or they won't engage with it because they don't enjoy it, because it's not fulfilling to them. I think about the example of running. A lot of people think that they want to get in shape, and so they should go jog or they should go walk on a treadmill, and that's their absolute least favorite thing to do. And so they give up before they even really start, or maybe they do it a couple of times and it doesn't stick. And all of a sudden, this limiting belief starts to set in that I can't get in shape, or I'm not motivated to get in shape. You are, in doing that, equating getting in shape with jogging or walking. And maybe that's not the way that you need to apply that goal. Maybe it's something entirely different.
Yeah. Agree 100%. Yeah. So movement is great, right? Our bodies they're designed to move. We got muscles. They should, things work better when we're using them, when we're putting effort into, even doing a little more than we used to do if we had a sedentary life to begin with. But there's a lot of paths to improving health. And for most of the people, and I shouldn't, this doesn't apply, necessarily to athletes. I know you got a triathlon coming up, right?
Yeah, I made this
Um,
crazy decision that I might regret at some point to do a
yeah,
triathlon.
yeah. Is it, it's different for some trainers that work with athletes, they work with some, very specific populations of people. People that I'm working with are the busy parents, they're general, what we call general population, right? They're just regular people like your podcast is for motivation for regular people, right? So there's a lot going on in life. And so we need to find what is going to work for that individual. And I've always found small is better. Let's
Mm,
focus small, right? We kind of know, like, hey, this is where we're heading, but what do we need to do now between where you're at and there to help you to just take small steps in that direction? And let's
mm-hmm.
focus on those little steps right now to get you there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, as you've researched the benefit of small habits, as you've read BJ Fogg and James Clear, how has this manifested itself in your own life?
Ooh, you took me by surprise with that. Um, it's taken a lot of pressure off. I think initially, that's my first thought and response to that question, because being kind of like I always felt like I was a highly motivated person, and I wanted to be, but it got very tiring after a while. It really did. So I'm like, I always want to be on, right? I want to get up early. I want to be the first one wherever. I want to be with the smile. I want to be with all the energy. I'm a motivator. Um, it gets tiring, So, um, realizing that what I need to do is focus on the little thing. If I can get that first step done, um, motivation comes from that. And if I'm focused on just the little step, I really don't need a lot of motivation to get that thing done. So, for example, in my own life, I mean, even when I was, I'm not still living this lifestyle, but I used to wake up, well, for a while I was training people in the gym at 4:30 a.m. And I remember waking up, obviously at home, right? And the alarm goes off and I probably didn't have enough sleep, you know. My first thought every morning was like, put your feet on the floor, put your feet on the floor. Right. And then once I had that, I was like, walk to the bathroom, just walk to the bathroom. Like I remember these thoughts in my head. And the irony of it is later I learned like that's the secret of motivation. Like just what do I have to do right now? Focus on it. If I can just get that thing done, the next step is going to be real easy from that point, right? But if I'm like, man, I got to get to the gym at 4:30 and be ready to train someone, that sounds insurmountable when I'm laying in bed all cozy and tired. So just one thing at a time. And
Mm.
I, I've been able to, over the years understand, how that works in all those areas we talked about of improving health. Just focus on the little step you need to take right now. You don't need a lot of motivation for it, and that's great. Because even if you're not feeling motivated, you can at least take the little step.
Oh
And
yeah.
once you take it, then you feel more motivated. Like, hey, I accomplished something. Like I'm a person who gets stuff done, even though it's little,
Mm.
and then I can keep going from there.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very James Clear-esque as well. This idea that every action that you take is casting a vote for the type of person that you want to be. And I think what you just shared is so powerful for two reasons. One, kind of like you said, if we focus on taking one step rather than trying to take 7 or 8 steps at one time, makes it so much easier for us to move forward. It's kind of similar to the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a
Yeah,
time. But I think that the other piece that I want to add in of why I like what you said so much, it's encouraging to me because it helps me realize that I can move forward and take steps, even if I don't know what the next 6 or 7 steps look like. How often do we have a goal that is a big goal that we desire, but we don't know entirely how to accomplish it? So, thinking about common goals for people, maybe it's writing a book, maybe it's starting a business, maybe it's creating something that doesn't currently exist, and we don't know how to finish, and that keeps us from starting. But if I take what you said and apply it, what I realize is even if I don't know every single step from point A to point B, if I know the next step, I can take that step, I can learn what
hmm
the next step to take is, and I can go from there. And eventually, if I keep taking enough steps, I'm going to reach that goal. It may not happen quickly, it may not be easy, but it is possible.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's some things you're gonna have to do right in order to get to where you ultimately want to end up, even if you don't know all those steps. So like, let's just focus on what we absolutely know needs to happen here, and the rest will become more obvious when we get there. But even if we have to do some more education, learning, get some more resources, support, I know I got to put on these gym shoes one way or another, right? I got to put on these sneakers in order to do the workout. So I may not know what the workout is yet, but I know I got to get these shoes on. So let's just start there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good. That's so empowering. Well, hey, we've got a few minutes left here. Do you mind if I switch directions a little bit? You gave me
Sure.
a sort of teaser in our conversation before the recording started that I wanted to follow up on. So we
Okay.
were discussing this idea, talking about personal training and fitness, of why people sign up for gym memberships and don't go to the gym. So in your experience, what's happening there?
So in my experience, signing up for the gym membership is an interesting thing because usually people are feeling there's some negative emotions that are motivating them, right? I don't feel good about something. Signing up for the gym membership is just an easy, like one and done thing. And now I feel better in that moment. I did something, but the actual act of going to the gym, right? Now that I have the gym membership, um, on a regular basis is too colossal of an undertaking for the regular person to do if they haven't been doing anything already. So, we can be motivated to do a really tough thing once, and the tough thing once is getting to that gym and buying the membership. Right? I was motivated to do it, and it's good. Check it off the list, and I actually feel pretty good having done it because now I have access to all this help and all this equipment that I know I need. But it's on repeating that, right? I have to actually essentially go buy the gym membership almost every day of the week in order to get the results that I want, right? I have to go back to that gym and maybe get some support from a staff member or spend some time there with the equipment. And if I haven't been doing anything, making that a consistent part of my life is it's too huge. It's not a tiny step, it's a huge step every time I do it. And so people don't use their gym memberships because it's just too hard. It's too big. It's too colossal of an undertaking for them to go from not doing anything to now going to the gym on a regular basis. Too
Hmm.
huge.
Yeah, it's so paradoxical, right? Because you think about someone who signs up for that gym membership, and that's a big step. It's not a bad step necessarily,
Right.
but I think you're right in saying that someone could sign up for that gym membership, feel like they've done something good and substantial, and there's a sense of accomplishment for making that decision. And then all of a sudden, they realize that they have to follow through on that and essentially make that difficult decision over and over again. So it's like you set that bar too high for yourself in a way to a point where you can't consistently achieve it. And then because you can't consistently achieve it, you start to see yourself in the sort of negative light that could derail any future progress that you might make.
Yep. You got it.
So, how do we take the concept of tiny habits and smaller is better and apply it to that person who's thinking about signing up for a gym membership?
Well, um, I would love to talk to them about it. Uh,
Shameless
one thing
plug.
that we do, the company that I'm part of now, everything's done at home. People our clients work out at home, for starters. It's just easier for them, right? Not to say like gyms are bad. They're not. They're great for some people. So if somebody has that gym membership, what we've told our clients is focus on the step you have to take to come and see us at the gym. So, um, you know, get in the car. That's all you have to do, right? Just focus on getting in the car and that's it, right? And people will find like, and I'll tell I would tell my client, once you're in the car, you can go back in the house and be done. Like that, all I want you to do is get in the car. Everyone gets in the car and they're like, okay, now I can drive to the gym. Like, that's fine. I did this much. I'm going to go the rest of the way. But they're just focusing on that one tiny step. And then the next day, it's workout day, same thing. Just focus on getting in the car. And I want you to think about the workout. I want you to think about walking in the gym and being concerned about who might be judging you, or to just get in the car. That's it. That's all I need. To sit down in the front seat of the car. And every time that's the focus, just the easy thing. So like I mentioned earlier, maybe it's just put on the gym shoes. Easy step. Once you take it, you're much more likely to follow through. And we'll keep experimenting, right? Nate, I sat in the car and then I went back in the house. It didn't work, right? Okay, let's try something else to focus on. We'll get it eventually, but that's the answer, right? Make it as easy as you can. Get the gym membership closest to your house, right? Or just decide you're going to work out at home. Make it as easy as possible and then just focus on what step do I need to take next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you do that, you are starting to reverse those habit loops in your brain. And I may have shared this story when I was on your podcast, but for any listeners that are listening to this episode that haven't heard that one, I remember when I first started working out, I had a day where I didn't want to go to the gym. I don't know if there was something else going on or if I was just tired, but nothing inside me wanted to go. And I made the decision to go anyways. And I remember afterwards feeling so good, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally. And so since then, there's been about 10 years that have gone by. And I've been able to do races and lift weights and so many things since then. And I trace it back in many ways to that moment when the habit loop began to reverse in my brain from working out as something that is going to make me tired and uncomfortable to working out is something that will help me feel better after I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You got it. And I think whatever you can do, like you said, to feel better, it's sometimes with working out, I think I'm going to reward myself at the end of the week if I do all my workouts, right? Or after I lose the X amount of weight this month, I'm going to have a reward set up for myself. It doesn't work, right? We need the reward now. You mentioned the habit loop. Like, you need to feel good right after you do it. So setting that up, building that into the process, right? So that you do feel good, call someone you love talking to on your way home from your workout, or that's a big part of having a coach, having a trainer. That person should make you feel good every step of the way and after at the end, right? We're social people, so finding someone to work out with that you can celebrate that event right away with, and not like pushing these rewards down the line. That's not how habits work, right? We got to feel good right now. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
we're not gonna replicate it. It's not gonna keep
Yep.
happening.
What gets rewarded gets repeated.
Yeah.
Nate, this has been an awesome conversation. I know I've benefited so much just from getting to be on the other side of the interview and hearing what you have to say. So I so appreciate you taking this time to share with us. If anyone's interested in learning more about you, about training with you, where can people connect with you?
Yeah, the best place, I mean, since we're here on the podcast, is probably on my podcast, the Begin Within Health Show, where we're exploring all kinds of different health topics, areas of health outside of just working out. And then we also have a free ebook that encapsulates a lot of the concepts, some of which we talked about here, and that they can get at beginwithin.fit/ebook.
Awesome. And we'll link that in the show notes as well so people have easy access. Nate, thanks again. It was good to talk with you one more time.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks. Huge thank you to Brady Ross for having me on his show. And once again, if you are not already, please pop over and check out his show, Motivation for Regular People. You'll find that wherever you happen to be listening to this podcast. You're going to find that over there. Make sure that you follow the show and continue to keep up with Brady and the work that he's doing, as well as the awesome guests that he continues to have on his show. I want to thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this episode. And I want to remind you that in the show notes for this episode, you're going to find resources that will support you in staying motivated in your health and fitness journey. You have a link to the ebook that I mentioned in that interview on Brady Ross's show, Motivation for Regular People. The the book that you can also get at beginwithin.fit/ebook. That's going to be linked in the show notes as well. You are going to find a link to our Facebook group, our insiders group. That's a bunch of people just like you who are working on health and fitness from the inside. We call them insiders, and they are there. We have nutrition tips, we have daily workouts that are waiting for you there. We want to make sure that you have everything that you need. If you are motivated to get going on your health and fitness journey, it's there. It's there for you in our free Facebook group, as well as the opportunity to connect with others who are in this same journey. And lastly, you're also going to find a link to my coaching program, a program that I worked very hard at developing and something that we continue to work at improving. And what you're going to find there is a description of the program, which includes weekly access to me, weekly access to yours truly via a live group coaching session. We do that every single week. We have those slated for Mondays so that our clients, which I hope very soon includes you if you aren't already a client, have the ability to get the week off to a great start. I'd love to say that a day is just a day, but the simple fact is this: Monday, it has a little something special, doesn't it? And so we want to access that. And in our coaching program, we do that by having a kickoff to the week via a group coaching session, live time that we spend together to make sure that you get the week off to a great start. Of course, there's so much more that's involved in the coaching program, but that is one of the most powerful, the most valuable aspects of the coaching program. The link is in the show notes. You can grab a spot right now. Check out those resources in the show notes And I want to thank you one more time just for being you, for being here with me, and for taking care of yourself. I'll talk with you again soon.